Happy those who hunger and thirst for justice. Is the diakonosia, is that the word? I can't remember, but the word is justice. Clearly the word for justice. Although interestingly, most Bibles to this day will soften it. Happy are those who hunger and thirst for what is right, or for righteousness, which sounds sort of religious. The word is clearly justice, right? Happy those who hunger and thirst for justice. In fact, we are now halfway through the Beatitudes, and you notice the word justice is halfway through and at the very end again. Almost as if it's a couplet saying this is the point. This is the new life of justice. To live a justified life in this world is to live identified with the little ones. And as much as Matthew is trying to soften it for his middle class audience, he really can't soften it. It's still radical and revolutionary and most extraordinary. But what it's saying is make sure you're not satisfied. Keep yourself in a state of dissatisfaction. You know what really happens in contemplation is you can't always say you've met God. You can't always say you've come to some great insight after praying. But what real prayer does is stir desire. It stirs holy desire. And the unconscious bubbles up, and you find out what it is you really desire. And it isn't a new set of clothes. You see, if you move too quickly, you really think it is. And you think by going to the store, getting a new set of clothes, you're going to be happy. Stay with it longer, right? It's not, a new set of clothes is not going to do it, right? And you got to stay with it, which is prayer, and to move to the level of primary speech, and you find out what you really desire, and it's always God. It's always union. It's always love. It's always communion. And the heart is restless. The sad thing about those who refuse to live in that state of longing and thirsting, and I don't think I'm being unfair or unkind in saying this, but I think it's a sociological fact. Normally, the very definition of wealth, of a wealthy person, is you are never satisfied. Never. The very character of greed is it creates an impossible internal satisfaction that always wants more. And then when you get that, that doesn't satisfy. And so what the spiritual leaders do is simply stop the whole game. Just stop it. This game of covetousness and desire. Because you are setting yourself on a course that will only make you more and more dissatisfied. I've said for years that, those are the last two commandments. Not to covet your neighbor's wife and not to covet your neighbor's goods. Right? And yet the 9th and the 10th commandments have had very little effect in Christianity. Because it didn't fit in with capitalism. Right? I have never in all my life had anybody confess that coveting their neighbor's goods. Right? Because that's what the entire system is built on. Right? Is creating by billboards and advertisements desires. Desires. You need this. You need a new pancake maker. Right? Oh, it's so silly. I mean, where are we going to have room in our kitchens for all of these gadgets? And people believe it. They run out of... Now, there's a sandwich maker. Why would you need a sandwich maker? Brainwashing. And our poor people don't know it. When I first preached in the communist world, I said this when I first came back 5-6 years ago from East Germany. And the most striking thing was to live in a world without any billboards or any advertisements. I didn't realize how much we're surrounded by them. To open a paper without a single advertisement in it, I mean, it'd be about 3 pages, I guess, wouldn't it? We don't realize how much it totally controls our world. The creating of desires. The creating of desires for things that you do not need. And you know you don't need them, and you know they will not satisfy, right? And then we get into it, giving one another things that we don't really need. Happy are those who hunger and thirst. In other words, who remain in the state of a satisfied emptiness for what is truly just. They will be satisfied. You can satisfy such people. They can live in contentment. I hope you know such a person who's totally content. Wearing this dress for 5 years, I'm happy. I really don't. A new one isn't going to make me happy. Happy the merciful. Mercy is, of course, that it's sort of like the mystery of forgiveness. And you've got to know, forgiveness by definition, mercy by definition, is unearned, undeserved, and unnecessary. If it isn't all of those, all right, it won't be experienced as mercy. If you think people have to earn it, deserve it, or it's necessary to do it, you've lost the mystery of mercy and forgiveness. And I believe with all my heart that is the whole gospel. Remember in the Benedictus where it says, you will know the mystery of salvation through the forgiveness of sin. The experience of forgiveness or mercy is the experience of a magnanimous God who is living out of total gratuity, and there's no tit for tat, there's no buying and selling in the temple, which is the symbolism of kicking over the tables. And buying and selling of God is over, right? And stop trying to buy and sell God by worthiness, by achievement, by obeying commandments. I am proclaiming a Father that I met in the temple, and His name is mercy, right? Oh, mercy is just, you can't describe it. I'm not describing it now. Because you don't know it until you've experienced it.